Christian Audio presents Reformation Heroes, Volume 2, 1522 to 1629, John Calvin, Theodore Beza, the Anabaptists, and many more, by Diana Kleyn and Joel R. Beakey. Narrated by David Cochran Heath. Chapter 1. Guido de Bray, 1522 to 1567. Guido de Bray's Confession of Faith, now known as the Belgic Confession of Faith, remains one of the most influential confessional documents of Reformed churches around the world. His youth. In 1522, Guido de Bray's mother was listening to the preaching of an Augustinian monk. Impressed with the monk's preaching, she asked God to give her a son who would be a good preacher. Several months later, Guido was born to the de Bray family in Mons, Belgium. He was the fifth child born into a strict Roman Catholic family. His mother's wish would be realized, but Guido would be a Protestant preacher, not a Roman Catholic one. After several years of schooling in his hometown, de Bray became an apprentice to a glass painter. He did his work well, but he kept his eyes and ears open, showing an interest in the stories about the Protestants. These heretics were imprisoned, beheaded, or burned when they were caught. He heard the stories of the Reformation and the men who were used by the Lord to do his work. De Bray heard about Luther and Calvin and many of the others who lived and worked during his lifetime. His conversion and studies. During his teen years, de Bray obtained a Bible and read it. He also read the writings of reformers. The Lord used these means to convert him and call him to the ministry. In 1548, at the age of 26, he left home to study in England. King Edward VI was on the throne, and England was a safe place for Protestants. De Bray had excellent training under men like Jan Lasky, Martin Bucer, Petrus Dithinus, and other reformers. He learned not only from their lectures, but also from hearing their preaching and observing them establishing congregations. There were many refugees in England at the time because of the persecutions going on in other countries. Several congregations were established for the people to hear the word preached in their own language. He becomes a minister. In 1552, de Bray returned to Mons from England. He wanted to minister to the people of his own country. He became a traveling preacher, which was a dangerous calling, since the teachings of Luther and Calvin were not accepted by the church. De Bray was careful, however, and did not use his real name. Instead, he used the name Augustine of Mons. Eventually, de Bray established a congregation in the town of Lille, about 45 miles from Mons. He did not preach in a church building, but he met with people in their homes to avoid detection. The young pastor taught people the Scriptures. He called the new church the Church of the Rose. He also continued to study the Scriptures for himself, as well as the writings of the Reformers. His first book was published in 1555. It was titled Le Baston de la Foi Chrétienne, The Staff of the Christian Faith. Many of the topics discussed in his book are found in de Bray's later Confession of Faith. This book was very popular among many Christians because it was written against the errors of Rome. Persecution. In 1555, Philip II of Spain became king in the place of his father, Charles V. People said that the new king promised more freedom for his subjects. Charles had persecuted the Protestants, but Philip seemed to be more tolerant, they said. Perhaps things would be better in Belgium now. The rumors proved to be false, however, and his subjects found that rather than being more tolerant of the Protestants than his father had been, Philip was fiercely determined to root out these heretics. He sent his soldiers into each country under his power to find and destroy the Protestants. Philip was a cruel king, and his soldiers tortured Protestants in terrible ways. Sometimes people were stretched out on a rack or put upside down in stocks. They were imprisoned in damp, dark dungeons where they kept company with rats and other vermin. Sometimes they were beaten. At times the torture was so intense that some people gave in and renounced their Protestant faith. Usually, however, the tortured Protestants remained steadfast, bravely suffering for the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, whom they loved. After one family in de Bray's congregation was arrested and burned at the stake, many people fled from Lille to Frankfurt am Main, where it was safer. 3 refugee churches were established.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?